What's up, everybody? Mark with Coffee&Toys here. Today is Sunday. That means we get to unbox a classic / vintage G.I. Joe figure from yesteryear. That's right. On Sundays on the channel, we unbox vintage figures, anything basically that's not classified. So it can be anything from 1982 all the way up to basically 2016 when the end of the modern era of G.I. Joe occurred. And welcome to the channel. My name's Mark. I'm with Coffee&Toys, and hope you click that like button, and I hope you enjoy what we're going to do today, because today we are going to open up this guy. This is the 2005 Storm Shadow mail-away figure. Let's talk about it. But of course, before we get to unboxing that figure, let's talk about coffee and your coffee needs. Coffeebrandcoffee.com has all sorts of coffees that will get you through your mornings or your evenings. Speaking of that, is the afternoon when I'm recording this, and I am still drinking their, this is the Colombian Ethiopian blend. That is their Roasters Club Choice of the Month. That's right. If you sign up for their Roasters Club, you get coffee delivered to your doorstep each and every month, and your first month is 50% off. And don't forget that Coffee&Toys promo code. That's COFFEENTOYS. Save yourself an additional 5% on your first order or your 50th order with coffeebrandcoffee.com. They also have really cool gear like this hat I am wearing today. So make sure you check out coffeebrandcoffee.com. But with that being said, let's get on to today's review of 2005's Storm Shadow mail-away figure. Okay, for you folks that aren't aware of what happens here on Sunday's videos, I take these figures, I unbox them in real time. You'll actually watch me unbox these vintage / classic style figures, and I'll tell you things I know about them. So, that being said, the thing I know about this figure is that I didn't get the original mail-away figure when it was initially offered in 2005. I would have been graduating college around that time, and the new sculpt era of G.I. Joe was kind of hit and miss for me personally, and I wasn't interested in G.I. Joe all that much. But basically the premise is this. You got this little uneventful box mailed to you if you sent in a few battle points, which were the after flag points they became battle points, and you mailed in a few battle points and some money, and I don't know if it was the G.I. Joe Club or if it was Hasbro. I'm assuming it was Hasbro, since it doesn't even say on here really. I'm assuming it was Hasbro. You sent in some battle points and a little bit of money, and you got this exclusive Storm Shadow figure. And I can tell you, this figure, they must have produced a lot of these and not sold very many, because they are still very, very easy to find. Actually, if you remember my top 10 video I made a few weeks ago, this was one of the figures I wanted to include, or that I did include on that top 10 list, as something I wanted to add to my own personal collection. Now, I did say in that video I didn't want to resort to eBay, but it is what it is. I resorted to eBay. 20 bucks. 20 bucks for a never opened one. If you want one that's been opened, you can probably get it for under 10 bucks. This figure is cheap, and they must have made a lot of them, and not that many people are interested. But yeah, what we're going to do on the channel today is we're actually going to open this figure, this mail-away figure. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to let you know what I think of it here almost 20 years later, if I think it was a good deal for picking up for 20 bucks, and, you know, any other history I can think of on the fly. But with that being said, let's cut on over and check out the 2005 mail-away Storm Shadow. Okay, here we have it. This is, like I said, the most boring box you could ever possibly imagine. This is what shipped to everyone that ordered with their battle points, and I don't even remember how much it was. It was probably like $1.99, $2.99, $3.99, something really cheap. And this is what they got. G.I. Joe Storm Shadow offer. P.O. Box something something, Azell, Texas. And, you know, I just bought this off eBay from someone who had an extra one. But this is what it came in, just a regular white shipper box. As you can see, it's never been opened. So we will be opening it right now, because there's nothing really much more to it. Just a plain old empty box. So let me get my handy dandy knife out, and I will get this tape cut. All right, that should do it. I mean, not much to it. This is it. There it is. Nothing else in the box, so we'll just toss that to the side. And yeah, your very own unmasked Storm Shadow. So let's just go ahead and get this Storm Shadow out of his plastic packaging. Let's see. Small parts, not suitable for under 3 years. so my oldest could not play with him. But there we go. Let's just get everything out here. Get this out of the way. And so the cool thing is he does come with this neat file card with Tommy Arashikage unmasked, as you can clearly see here. We spin it around and we do get this very, very nice file card, as if I can get the focus to work there. Okay. File name, Thomas M. Arashikage, primary military specialty ninja, secondary military specialty sabotage, birthplace San Francisco, California. Yeah, so I mean, there's basically the file card. Very cool to get this along with the figure. Have no idea what these little dots on the bottom mean. Insert this end. Who knows what this means? Is this something specially? What did you insert it into? Did it even do anything? Drop me a comment if you know below. Let's see. I will do what must be done to avenge the death of my father. And yeah, that's a nice little file card. What's interesting is that the figure that is portrayed on the back of the file card is not the figure we get clearly. So let's just talk about that figure we did get with this exclusive offer. And man, my camera does not want to focus today. There he is. This is Storm Shadow version 20, if you're keeping track numerically. And it is that new sculpt era type of figure. Oh, he's got some black on his face right there. See if that comes off at all. Nope. But I mean, I think what sold everybody on this was that, hey, you get an unmasked Storm Shadow. I mean, yeah, we knew what Storm Shadow looked like if you've read the comics. But it's a really nice head sculpt. But unfortunately, or maybe, you know, depending on if you're a new sculpt era purist, maybe you like it. I mean, it is an O-ring, so that's good. But the thing about this figure is when you compare it against that file card, right? Lots of color in that file card and not so much color on the figure itself. I mean, grays and blacks and whites. That's about all there is to this figure. Now, I have heard it argued, and I'm going to try to get this. There we go. I have heard it argued that the reason this figure was done in such a muted style of color was that, you know, doing it this way allows you to use him as a Cobra or a Joe. And man, I really need to get this to focus. There we go. You could use him as a Cobra or a Joe. And I can respect that. If that's the reasoning they did that, then it makes perfect sense. But you can see all the textures on this figure. And outside that dragon on the back, there is not a lot going on with this figure otherwise. Like I said, probably one of the more boring figures of the new sculpt era, especially for a mail away. But of course, it was relatively cheap to get this figure. I am super disappointed that face sculpt has that black on it. But you can already also kind of tell the whites are changing color. Even though it was in the package, you can see it's kind of a creamy white, not a bright white everywhere, especially on the thighs. But again, it's almost 20 years old. I can't fault it. You know, age does things to you. I can tell you that for a fact. But yeah, so obviously there is more to Storm Shadow than just the figure himself. So let me set him back down, see if he'll stand up. Perfect. Refocus this camera. He does come with a couple of accessories. And if I can pick them up. So the first thing we get are 2 knives. And these are pretty standard. These came with quite a few figures, quite a few Storm Shadows. Black handles, silver blades. Nothing too exciting. Get 2 of those. We do get this larger sword with the holes in the middle, you know, for slicing cheese. And black hilt on it as well. And then, of course, finally, we do get his cowl, which I think this is the big thing for everybody, is that obviously you could put the cowl on him, and then you could decide, oh, is he good guy Storm Shadow or bad guy Storm Shadow? So that's all that came with him. Let's get him accessorized, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on this figure. Okay, so we have the figure fully accessorized. I guess I shouldn't say fully. I do have an extra knife off to the side. But as you can see, he does look really good with that cowl on. I think he looks probably just a little bit better with it on. Some people I've read, you know, and I even remember back in the day when I picked up my first one of this figure, you know, people thought the cowl was a little oversized, and I don't think it is. I think it works fine for this figure. Nothing super exciting about this figure. This is a very plain Jane Storm Shadow. But again, if you want to have a Storm Shadow who walks the line, so to speak, of being a good guy or a bad guy, which Storm Shadow is off to do, this works out perfect. It's a great figure. And then once again, of course, you can just pull off this cowl, and you've got Tommy underneath, and it looks really well with the exception of the smudge I have on this one. The neck is a little bit long, but it doesn't really bother me. It'd be interesting to see this neck on... You probably couldn't put him on the original Storm Shadow figure. Probably could put it on the second version, version 2, a lot easier since it has a ball joint head. That sounds right. Yeah, it had a ball joint head. So yeah, that's pretty much Storm Shadow in a wrap. So let me know in the comments what you think of this figure. Is this a figure you picked up when you were first into G.I. Joe, when it was first offered, or was this one that you passed on because it was, pretty boring? Not gonna lie, it still is kind of boring, but it's Storm Shadow. At the end of the day, if you love ninjas, this is the guy you want. And speaking of what you want, I would really want you guys to hit the like on this video. Helps out the channel a lot. Make sure you visit coffeebrandcoffee.com, buy yourself some delicious coffee or some cool merch. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Marvel Monday comic review. We're up to issue number 11, I believe, of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. And yeah, with that all being said, I'm Mark. You've been watching Coffee with Toys, and I'll see you later.
Let's go.